London's Metropolitan Police will investigate alleged social events, Christmas parties and even a birthday get-together which took place in the heart of UK government during coronavirus lockdowns. Commissioner Cressida Dick said that the force will be looking at whether COVID-19 regulations were violated at a number of events in Downing Street. A separate inquiry into the gatherings led by civil servant Sue Gray is expected to be released imminently. The deputy leader of the opposition Labour Party has branded the accusations a truly damning reflection on our nation's very highest office.
In response to every question asked about the poor conduct, bad behaviour and rule-breaking culture that this government has overseen, the ministers have repeatedly told us Sue Gray is the answer. The terms of reference for Sue Gray set by the Prime Minister himself are clear. If any evidence emerges of behaviour that is potentially a criminal offence, the matter will be referred to the police. So it seems, Mr. Speaker, potential criminality has been found in Downing Street.
Well, Boris Johnson says he is willing to be interviewed by the police but continues to claim that he doesn't believe he has broken the law. He told MPs in Parliament that the distraction of the ongoing and now multiple investigations are not distracting him from the business of government.
So I welcome the Met's decision to conduct its own investigation because I believe this will help to give the public the clarity it needs and help to draw a line under matters. But I want to reassure the House, Mr. Speaker, and the country that I and the whole government are focused 100% on dealing with the people's priorities, including the UK's leading role in protecting freedom around the world.
Well, let's take this now straight to London, where reporter Tyke Enright is standing by. Good to see you, Tyke. To begin with, the British government is now subject to a criminal investigation. I think it's fair to say that Boris Johnson's chances of retaining the premiership have ebbed and flowed in recent weeks. Where does he stand now?
Hi, Helena. Well, it's certainly not good news for Boris Johnson. You did hear the Prime Minister there welcoming the police investigation, saying it would help draw a line under the social event and party scandal. He could hardly, of course, say otherwise. But in reality, what Prime Minister could possibly welcome not just the scrutiny, but also the spectacle of police investigating what was going on under his very nose. It does also raise big questions about what information has been passed to police by the senior civil servant who has been investigating all of these parties. We're getting close to almost 20 of them at the latest stage. The concern here, after we heard about the police investigation, was that it could somehow delay the report by Ms. Sue Gray, because the police investigate, or the release of that information into the public could jeopardise the police investigation. But the very latest that we're hearing is that it will not delay it, because the police have said that it should not interrupt their process. So it sparked fresh calls for Boris Johnson's resignation, not just from the opposition benches, but from some of his critics within his own party. You know, the speculation has been that Conservative MPs who've held back on moving against him so far wouldn't need much more ammunition to be convinced to do otherwise. And as if to add more bad news onto Boris Johnson's in-trade, the reality is that even if the civil servant's report doesn't point any smoking gun of evidence at the Prime Minister himself, you know, no matter how much Boris Johnson wants to move on from this, the police investigation is likely to take several more weeks, and that will drag on this scandal in the public's conscience for even longer. Helena? I mean,
exactly, Tyke, and the point made by the opposition, by the Labour Party, is that this has now become a distraction. We've spent so much time talking about whether the Prime Minister lied to Parliament or not, as the case may be, when actually this country has a lot of other serious issues on its plate.
It certainly does. Like many countries around the world right now, coming out of this pandemic, it's dealing with inflation adding to the cost of living, an energy crisis, and not least the management of this stage in the pandemic. And of course, as we've been reporting on earlier, the unfolding situation in Ukraine. Now, I have to say the same point is not just being made by Boris Johnson's critics, but his supporters too, asking the question, why are we talking about birthday parties that happened up to 2 years ago at a time when all this other stuff is going on? Now, Helena, as you and I both well know, opposition parties here are actually, in truth, rubbing their hands with glee, because what they see is a great political adversary, someone who has gobbled up their votes in recent years, is nearing a political cliff edge. And of course, what he's also doing by clinging on is tarnishing the reputation not just of the people around him, but of the wider Conservative Party. So the reality is, for those opposition figures calling out the issue of being distracted from the main issues of the day, is that the longer he clings on, the better it is, or could be for them, at the next election.